potentially as like my condition progresses, I'll back out of that role. Like they'll reach a point where it's like, it's getting to, because I also live nearby, so that's going to be my hospital. So yeah, at some point it's going to get weird and awkward, and it's just better if
Weird and
I,
awkward,
you
and
know,
you'll
see you
hand
guys.
in your lanyard and take your Medicare card out.
That's right. Yeah.
This is the After Dinner Mint, a podcast of stories I tell you at dinner. Think of the mint as the stories you tell after you've been kicked out of the restaurant, holding a mint, standing in the street, telling more honest stories with your friends than you did at the table. It's not a sermon. It's not advice. It's not self-help. We're processing what we're learning about faith and life, honestly, in community, to encourage you to do that with your God and your community.
I'm Beck, and today I'm here with Khaiah Thomson, one of our regular writers. We're kicking off the podcast by interviewing all our contributors so you can get to know them better. So hey, Khaiah.
Hey, Beck. Thank you for having me.
Nice to have you. So for people who don't know you, can you tell us a bit of like what a typical week looks like for you? What kind of things make up your week?
Okay, so first of all, I have two boys, 5 and almost 8, so they keep me pretty busy.
Wow.
I work part-time as a social worker, so that's 3 days a week. I've got the usual, the after-school sports, household chores. I try to get a session at the gym or walk the dog at least a couple of times a week. And then weekends are mostly, trips to the BMX park or skate park, play dates, church, and family time, because I come from a very big family. So catching up with everyone, is a part-time job.
Oh, wow. How do you even do that? All of that, I'm like, wow. Like my kids are coming into the season of like kids sport, but I don't have the amount of family that you have to keep up with.
Yeah, it's I guess you take it week by week, really. But for the most part, it's pretty, casual and easygoing. So it's not a chore or anything like that. We just are very social people, somewhat by choice, somewhat not by choice.
No, that's excellent. That's excellent. What sports are your kids playing?
So at the moment it is football. So my youngest just started Auskick and Oscar's just moved into junior footy.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I did. My kids did 2 years of, the oldest did 2 years of Auskick, but he didn't love it. I'm trying to work out what else to do with my life, really. So tell me, what are you doing? Like, feel the most like yourself, kind of like, this is what I was made to do, like what makes you feel the most alive?
A bit of a tricky one at the moment. I mean, part of me wants to jump in and say that writing is where I feel probably the most alive, and I think using my creative brain definitely, does make me feel alive, and I feel like I'm sort of in the space where I belong. I'm kind of going through a bit of a patch at the moment, though, where I think I have writer's burnout. So writing a bit more like homework. So I think because of all of the other things going on, I've just given it a bit of a... But, yeah, generally that is where I would feel most comfortable and most, I guess where I feel I have the most input. Yeah.
Yeah. And that kind of sucks, I suppose, if like writing has always been the thing that you've done for fun, and then like with writing books you've almost had to like do a lot of work, and it has become like a second job, really.
Yeah.
Like, do you have a creative hobbies?
I do like to bake cakes, although mostly because I like to eat them. And I do like a bit of gaming as well. That's not really creative, but it's a creative use of time.
But it is. It's kind of like problem solving, right?
Yep. Yeah, you could spin it that way.
Game.
I'm sure
I know
a lot
nothing,
of people would
but
love to spin it that way. No, I'm not wasting 3 hours of my evening time. I'm problem solving. Using my brain.
What type of stuff do you like to play?
Sort of
I know
open world
nothing.
type games, like Skyrim's probably my all-time favourite. Any of those sort of adventure first-person type games I like. Nothing too stressful.
Yeah, nice. Is that kind of, again, like explain like a vibe? I have no idea, but is that kind of like you going around, you talk to the wizard's like, go here, go on this quest, and then you do go on the quest, and then like you make friends and you have to like, is it that kind of thing?
Yeah,
Or is
pretty
it something
much.
completely different?
Pretty much. Kill a few bad guys along the way.
Excellent. Excellent. That's so good. Yeah. What do you do if writing is tricky? Like, do you have any? I mean, I like that you're just kind of putting it aside for a bit. Is there anything else that helps? If writing
Usually
sucks?
reading helps. In a way, gaming or, say, watching movies, any sort of creative pursuit does help in some way. I think it, I mean, even back, so I have started a new series. So I finished a trilogy back last year. So Welcome to Blackwood's the first one. And it's a 3-book trilogy. So I finished Redeeming Blackwood last year and that was published. So I sort of put things on the back burner, other ideas on the back burner, but I did have one that I've started, and the idea came to me while I was watching Pocahontas with my kids, and it's nothing like Pocahontas. So I can't explain. It's like post-apocalyptic and completely
Yes.
different, but it's just moments like that. So they do help to get the creative juices flowing.
Yeah, I think it's that. Not that I've written any novels, but I think anything that I've done creatively, I often just find that you're doing the dishes, you're walking along, and you're like, yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah,
But yeah, your brain kind of needs to be at rest a bit almost.
Yeah, which doesn't help with getting to sleep at night, but I found that writing notes down in my phone usually sorts that out.
I know. I love the Notes app. I'm just like, I have just jotted so many fragments of like poems or other random things just to be like, I'm going to come back to that. And then you just forget about it for ages, but they're great.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So tell me, what are your current game changes? So it might be a reframe or a different way of looking at a situation.
So typically I'm very much a night person. I think once the kids are in bed, I like having that sort of time to myself. But I'm finding, I think with work, I've got, kids, got a few health things going on, just don't have the energy at night to achieve anything.
Mm-hmm.
And not that your rest time is meant, just for achieving stuff, but I'm trying to be. Yeah. So usually I find that once the kids are in bed, all I'm doing is watching Netflix or playing video games, which is great for some of the time, but I feel like I need to be filling my spare time with other things as well, maybe a bit of writing, that kind of thing. So I'm trying, and key word there is trying. I'm trying to become a morning person. Yeah, so early nights, wake up early. It's pretty hard going, but that is sort of my goal. I think I'd achieve a lot more if I sort of used my time better.
I just hard empathise because I am naturally, I love nighttime, but I just found if I was going to get any time to myself, and I was like, I'm working backwards from the time that like I actually need some time to myself, it would have to be in the morning. Like, because my husband works long hours, and I was like, actually, it needs to be in the morning. And it hurts. But once you do get that, then you kind of, like, there's nothing else that's going to take that morning slot, and then I've become very possessive of it.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at the moment, baby steps.
So is it like just the reframe is like, I am a morning person, or?
Well, the reframe is just making myself go to bed early. To be honest, it does not matter what time I go to bed. My brain sort of goes a million miles a minute. So the earlier I get to bed, the earlier I will still get to sleep. That is the idea.
I like it. You're like, positive thinking.
Yeah, that's right.
About the brain. I know, man, that hurts. So it's like a little bit of a segue, but completely unrelated. How did you become a Christian?
Yeah, so I grew up as a pastor's kid. So I very much had a pretty good knowledge of God and the Bible and Jesus from a very young age. And I'd say even growing up, I prayed regularly. I read, my Bible stories and talked to God and on a regular basis. So I always assumed I was a Christian. And then when I was in year 6, so I was 11, we moved from a small country town to Perth, and it was a very big adjustment for me. I found it was a big culture shock. It's funny looking back, like it doesn't seem that big a difference in culture, but at the time there was so, city kids were just so different. Walking the street, I mean, you had to wear shoes in the city, otherwise people looked at you weird. So all of these things I wasn't. But I had a pretty hard time making friends, and I found myself in a pretty lonely place for a few years. And it sort of came to a head when I was 13. So I was in year 8, so that sort of transition into high school. And my mum had questioned one day on the way home from church, because we'd had an argument in the car, and she questioned whether or not I was a Christian. And it really took me off guard. I'd never thought that there was a possibility that I wasn't. And at the time I was quite angry about it. But then, a few weeks later, I was praying at night, as I usually did, sort of when I was going to sleep. And I found that time between when you're in bed and you're sort of falling asleep was probably when I felt the most alone. And over time, I'd sort of, because I felt that loneliness and that emptiness, I'd reached a point where I'd assumed that it must be my fault, that I wasn't lovable or I wasn't likable, those kind of things. Very, very heavy things for a 13-year-old to be thinking about. But I think when you're going through puberty and you're going through, discovering who you are and what you believe and all of that, you have some pretty big and heavy thoughts. So that particular night I was praying and just asking God to fix it, to fix me. And it was something I'd prayed many times, but that particular night, I just remember he answered with a very simple phrase, that you do not know me. And I remember thinking about it. I was like, of course I know you. And then he said it again, like, you do not know me. And then I realized, I guess it was like that, that light bulb moment where I realized I wasn't a Christian. And so that night I gave my life to Christ. And I'm one of those people where it was that there was that very definitive moment, and the next day I felt completely different. Like I woke up like a burden had lifted, like, nobody could touch me. It didn't matter that, if kids were ignoring me at school, I just felt such joy that I knew that another human being couldn't take that from me. So that was pretty cool. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Thank you.
I just love that shift where, it's going from like that shift from such loneliness into such joy and peace. You think, wow, that's just so, yeah.
And I think, there's a lot of little things that built up to that for sure, but, that's very much at a short summary. But it's obviously what needed to happen for God to get through.
Yeah. And I think that's it. It's like people assume that, it's interesting outside looking in, you think, how do people from Christian homes become Christians? But I think everybody has to come to God. You don't absorb it by osmosis. Everybody has to kind of, really process and think, what do I actually believe in you? Do I actually love you? Do I know you? Yeah.
Yeah. And I imagine for a lot of people, when you've grown up, when you have that deep knowledge of God and your faith and Christianity, and it's all around you, it's so easy to sort of just believe you're a part of that you have that relationship with Christ, because, you have this knowledge of him. In a way, you know about him, you know so much about him, but there's a very big difference of knowing about him and knowing him. Yeah. And I remember after that as well, opening my Bible and reading stories and chapters, and they just took on a completely different meaning. They weren't just stories anymore. Like, I was getting messages from what I was reading. And that was another big change.
Yeah. I love that. I love that it's that shift from something that you have read your entire life and you're like, the actual words are different, like this meaning is different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because of, I don't know, I mean, it just sounds corny to say like a heart shift, but you're like, yeah, it's that.
Yeah, heart shift, mind shift, a whole lot.
Yeah. So who's someone who's encouraged or inspired you in your Christian walk, and why?
I would have to say my family. We're a pretty close-knit bunch. So I think when it comes to, talking about faith and talking about questioning things, sort of questioning society's view of Christianity and all of that, like, the safest space to have those conversations has always been with my family. Like, we can have arguments, we can sort of debate things, and yeah, it's a safe space for that. So I think for sure it would have to be my family. It's pretty cliche, but yeah, that's dad, mum, my sisters, my brothers. Yeah, definitely.
I love that. And I think that's it kind of speaks to that, I think people want to outsource often, that discipleship to other places. But actually, I mean, what you're getting at is like, yeah, discipling kids kind of really happens in the home, where you're like, yeah, you really want it to be a safe place. Like, bring all of this stuff in. Yep, we're not scared of your questions.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was always a good space. Like, even as a young adult, sort of when I moved into the social work world, and, I questioned, because you see some pretty dark and depressing things that sort of, you realize humanity. I mean, you look at, the world when God flooded it for a reason, like the way that humanity went.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of things as a young social worker where I questioned why God would let those things happen. Why would he let the world go this way? So it was always really good to have those conversations with, my parents. I found really, really helpful to get through that time.
Oh, I love that. That's so lovely that you had that and you were able to wrestle with that. Like, I think, yeah, my experience is like similar to you in similar kind of roles, but like that child protection prison kind of work. And you do really wrestle with like, some of this stuff is evil. People are capable of such evil. And like, the weirdest thing is that it's such a left leaning field. You know what I mean? Like, the field that you're working in is so different. Like, the perspective where it comes from is so different. But for me, I'm with you, where I really ended up landing on like, I find a lot of comfort in, you're like, well, God knows, God sees, God's going to deal with everything, and some things can't be fixed by people or therapy or some things really are. But I love that you had that space to really wrestle with. Like, that's a really good gift to give to our kids, I think.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Something I like to keep in mind with my own kids, trying to be that safe, open space. If you've done something wrong, just tell me.
Like, will I get into trouble?
Hang on, I won't be mad.
Will I be in trouble? Maybe. Maybe. You can come to me with anything. Oh, man. So can you tell us about like a hard season or suffering? Like one of those hard seasons that you've walked through?
Yeah. So there's been a few. I think probably the most recent one would be most relevant. So back a few years ago, my husband and I made the decision to move house. So we wanted to move sort of further, closer into the city, just closer to work for him, closer to work for me. And we made that decision to upsize and move closer to the city. We sort of purchased our house, and then interest rates started like shooting through the roof. So we were under a fair bit of financial stress. And then at the same time, I moved into a job that was flexible, which was great at the time. Like, it worked really well for our family. But I'd have to say it was the most stressful job I've had. And we came across each other in child protection, so I'd done that. I'd done mental health. I've done a few things, and this sort of trumped them all for stress. So it was a very stressful time. And then at that same time, kids adjusting to new schools and just sort of trying to get some order back into your life, and sort of, focus on your marriage as well. It was a pretty tough period. But thankfully, we've sort of started to come out the other end of that, and the pressures eased a little. So I left that stressful job and I moved into hospital social work, which has been really good. I really enjoy my job. But about 4 months in to that role, I was asked to move into like a more senior position, and it happened to be on the renal ward in my hospital. So I happen to have polycystic kidney disease, and it's sort of something that's always, I found out about it about 10 years ago. Didn't know a lot about it, kind of viewed it like, it's okay, one day I'll get kidney transplant, everything will be fine, I can ignore it for now. So I started that position, and then, I kid you not, a month into that position, my kidney function went downhill quite significantly. So I was dealing with that and then working in the space of renal medicine. So I was daily seeing my potential futures. And so part of my role is working with the transplant team. So I work with the consultants on potential transplants, and I was seeing all of these sort of tests and ultrasounds of people's kidneys, and I'm looking at it and I'm going, I'm not that far away from this. Like, I've always kind of So initially, like 10, 11 years ago, when I saw the specialist the first time, it was like a one-off. She kind of said, you might need a transplant one day. You might never need one. Just, come back and see me if your kidneys start to decline, but all should be good. And then, so I'm sitting there looking at this screen, and I'm like putting all the pieces together, and I'm like, this 10 years.
Yeah.
So it was just a very confronting time for me. But I think it was definitely a blessing in disguise. It was one of those things. I think I'm definitely someone who sort of, sweeps things under the carpet until I have to deal with them. So I think it was God's way of saying, you need to take this seriously. You need to look after yourself, look after your health. And so it's been really good. I've, connected with all the right people. I've learned a lot more about this disease and what it means for me, and now, because one of my sons has it as well.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So thank you. But it's been challenging, and it's been quite confronting time. But at the same time, I've learnt so much, and I just feel a lot more, I guess, empowered in taking my health into my own hands and looking at ways that I can improve it.
Like, just out of interest, what kind of things have you learned about, I don't know, the disease or things that help, or what kind of things do you have to do to look after yourself?
Yeah, so it's a bit tricky. So it kind of gets because polycystic kidney disease, it becomes chronic, like renal failure. So where I sit at the moment, I'm sort of mid-stage renal failure. So a lot of specialists sort of treat it the same as other like chronic kidney conditions or like renal failure. So there's a lot of conditions that can lead to renal failure, but like polycystic kidneys are quite unique in that, like, it's hard to go into the details, and I'm not a medical expert, but not a lot of research has been done into, whether dietary changes would impact, the progression of the disease. Like they typically tell you to go on your usual renal diet, which is generally for people, who say have like the diabetic form of renal failure. So there's nothing really tailored to this specific condition, and not enough research done to show, what kind of things might help to slow it. Although a lot more is coming out now in recent years. So, I've been talking with my specialist about potentially doing a couple of trials. There's a few trials coming up of different medications and that kind of thing. So that's a bit exciting, but yeah. So it's interesting space to be in. But I think I feel like God's put me in it for a reason. Like I'm in a very unique position of working in a field as a social worker while also being a patient. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's that double-edged sword. Yeah, where you're like, part of you, like it forced you to look at something that you would have made sense you wouldn't want to look at or like have to confront. And then like, on the other side is providing a lot of like assistance and support, and access to knowledge that you wouldn't have had. Like, how do you, like in terms of like the social work role, how do you straddle that? Because
I'm
like, that would
generally
be
pretty
quite
good
tricky.
at that. Yeah, I'm generally pretty good at putting things in a box when it comes to work and personal. So I haven't actually found that part too difficult. I think potentially as like my condition progresses, I'll back out of that role. Like they'll reach a point where it's like, it's getting to, because I also live nearby. So that's going to be my hospital. So yeah, at some point it's going to get weird and awkward, and it's just better if
and you'll
see you
hand
guys.
in your lanyard and take your Medicare card out.
That's right. That's
Sorry, that's not funny.
But funnily enough, I'm not the only one. Like, I'm not the only one. So there's a few there. Yeah.
So what do you reckon something's God taught you about his character through this, like, this hard season? But like, you don't reckon you would have learned otherwise? Like, what'd you learn about God?
Yeah, I think no matter what, God is in control and he is constant. Like, before, there's just been so much upheaval in the last few years, and that's one thing. Like, he's solid, and he's as solid and unswaying as a rock. He's always there. And he's definitely the lighthouse in the storm. That's for sure. Yeah. And I think the other thing, and it's sort of always been, I remember when I was a teenager in Bible study, talking about how God is not restricted by time. So he sees everything, on the chessboard, whereas, we only see one piece. So, as much as it's a bit crappy that, people have health conditions like this and that, our bodies are flawed and that life's flawed, like God has some purpose in all of that. He knows where all the pieces need to be. He knows where they all fit. So, yeah, I think that's what I've learned, and I'm continuously learning.
I think it's that, isn't it? Like there's something very comforting, almost like when you're gaming and you're playing Skyrim. I'm assuming this is what it's like. Again, I don't know what Skyrim is like. But, there's a sense of like someone is holding all this all together. Like it's not meaningless or purposeless, but, someone who can be known is holding it all together.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's so easy to try and take things back into your own hands and sort of, it's easy to spiral in that sense, whether it's health, whether it's work, whether it's financial struggles, whether it's feeling like, your parenting's lacking. But, thankfully, God is always in control, and he does tend to remind us or give us little reminders that, we need to give life to him, give our lives to him, and he'll direct our paths.
Yeah.
And I do struggle with that a lot. So it's a bit like hot potato. It's like back and forth.
It's kind of that thing where I'm like, I just keep having to learn patience over and over again. I'm like, God, I just want to learn something else now. I just stop learning patience. And he's like, how about we learn it again? But is there anything? Yeah, because it sounds like you're kind of in that continuous process of like handing stuff back to God. But is there anything that helps you with that when that worries? I don't know, when the worries do bubble up. Like, is there anything specifically that you do that helps?
Usually it's in that space when God reminds you of those things to give him control. I'd have to say that is it. And then also just finding quiet time, so that, which can be so hard, but even if it's just a short moment, finding that quiet time where you can hear God's voice. You can hear or have that moment of being able to hear what he's trying to tell you. It sounds so fancy when I say it that way, but like it's, yeah.
It's like, it sounds, you know what I mean? It's so simple and yet it's so hard to do. But you're like, the Bible's like, be still. Know that I'm God. Like, and it's that constant thing where you're like, okay, I've got to sit down. Okay, I've just got to take 5 minutes and just, you're like, why didn't I pray about it? But you're like, again, so profoundly helpful, and yet, it's easy to become a cliche, but you're like, it's the one thing that is so helpful.
Yeah. No, that's it.
Yeah, totally. Man, thank you so much. That was like really, really clear. Like,
good.
And really encouraging. Yeah. Who do you reckon would be good to hear from next? Like, yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Are you going to throw under the bus, Khaiah?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm sorry. I've got nothing for that
one. Sorry, that was actually a cackle.
I do know. I think someone who would be good to interview through my church, Jacinta Patterson.
She's lovely. She sent me a really nice email when she signed up to like stories, and she was like, hey, and I'm really excited. She's just lovely. Yeah.
I am in awe of her ability to connect people. She's amazing at it.
Ooh.
Or she can take a really awkward silence in a room and create conversations. I think she would be great to talk to or to hear from.
I need to meet her and be like, teach me your ways, Jacinta, to teach me your ways.
Yeah.
Help me to be, myself, but less myself, in terms of awkwardness.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And on that awkward note, thank you everyone for listening.
That's it from us, friends. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. And if you did, you can sign up to our free weekly newsletter called Stories I Tell You at Dinner. So you get essays, poetry, podcast episodes, everything, photo essays straight to your inbox on Wednesdays from March through to November from Christian women in Western Australia. If you'd like that, the link is in the show notes. Thanks for listening, guys. Bye.